One love, everybody. I started this before, but I'm going to start it again. Good evening, each and everyone out there who has taken the time to come to my channel to hear me. I thank you for coming. And you're on the Natural Guru channel on YouTube. I thank you for coming. My home is 2 dogs and 4 cats, so don't feel any way because we are animal lovers. Plain and simple. No apology. But today I want to talk to you about a book that I had picked up a while ago, and it was a book called Egypt, the Light of the World by a gentleman called Gerald Massey. And Gerald Massey was quite the Egyptologist, historian, poet. He was quite a versatile guy. But the biblioc societies in his day and time were vehemently against him because they were financing the majority of the archaeological digs in Kemet, aka Egypt. And they were trying to prove that Kemet had some proof of the biblical narrative. They never really found any, but they didn't want Gerald Massey to be telling you the truth about it either, right? So this he wrote in a book, in this book, Egypt, the Light of the World. In this book, he wrote, and shortly after he wrote this book, he died. This he poured all that he had acquired into the book. Now, there's not much of his opinion in this book. He actually draws on references from the most prestigious universities and the best scholars that he could find that did the actual work. And he compiled them. Okay, so right now we have a story about the great year, the great processional movement, the great year, and that the great year, was calculated by the Kemetans, the Africans, aka Egyptian, for 40 plus thousand years. That's what they could find, but it goes way beyond that. But anyway, so I'm going to read the passage to you. This is a gigantic book, and anybody who's truly interested in the Kemetan history, just the plain history, no opinions, no nothing, right? It's a plain historical book, right? And so it's valuable in that sense because from it you could go into different paths of more enlightened understanding of what was going on, right? So in this now, wait a minute. Okay. I apologize. Sorry. So this is the claim now by a scholar that Mr. Massey put in the book, right? And it says, it was asserted by Martinus Capella that the Egyptians had secretly cultivated the science of the astronomy for 40,000 years before it was made known to the rest of the world. Lewis, Astronomy of the Ancients. This is where you will find this on page 264. Now, Lewis, these are books that are in Oxford University, the biggest university in France, and all these kind of things, right? So he says now, as timekeepers, the astronomers of Egypt had thought and wrought, observed and registered on the scale of the great year of the universe, right? The precessional movement, 26,000 years. The circuit of precession, first outlined by the movement of the celestial pole, was their circle of the eternal, or 7 eternals, that was imaged by the Shenu ring, right? So to them, the processional movement imaged eternity, right? And to symbolize eternity, they use the Shenu ring, which is a snake in a circle biting his tail. Okay? And likewise by the serpent of eternity, as we know the serpent was sacred in the ancient world, when this was figured with tail in mouth and one eye always open at the center of the coil. They not only laid great basis for eternity in this way, they also built upon the basis of all time, which culminated in the cycle of procession. Right? So what they're telling you is they laid the foundation of eternity, right? They not only laid great basis for eternity in this way. In other words, they're saying, yeah, this is a true representation of what eternity actually looks like, right? Cyclic, remember that. When Herodotus was in Egypt, the mystery teachers of the heavens told him that during a certain length of time, which had been reckoned by the Egyptian astronomers, this sun had 4 times risen out of his usual quarter, that he had twice risen where he now sets, and twice set where he now rises. So what you're looking at there is a pole shift. They're describing a pole shift. Now, they could not have known about a pole shift if they didn't witness the pole shift. So it's easy, astronomically, to go back in time to find out when there was a pole shift. Huh? Yet, that no change in things of Egypt had been associated by this either in the production of earth or the river. So Kemet was not affected by the pole shift. Remember that. That's key. Why maybe certain people captured the land and the knowledge? Because they are fearing the disaster. Huh? Maybe. Who knows? And he adds, now here it goes now, and he adds, the Egyptians say they know these things with accuracy. With accuracy. You hear that? With accuracy. It's no point, right? Because they always compute and register the years. Huh? Wow. And there's better references in book 2, 142 and 145 in my book. Right? Right? Now, there is no cycle of astronomy save the cycle of the precessional movement, in which the phenomena thus unwittingly described by the faithful old chroniclers, the African astronomers, could occur. In other words, what he's saying here is that this knowledge could not have been known other than these guys actually studying the precessional movement, the Africans, right? And then he goes further. He says, one such cycle is certain. That's 26,000 years. That's certain that they were watching the precessional movement for 26,000 years, generation to generation to generation. Right? 26,000 years. 2 are not improbable. That's 52,000 years. Huh? And 3 are possible. That's 78,000 years. Excuse me. Right? Sorry. So, you have possibly 80,000 years in the astronomical records of Kemet to say they've been watching the precessional movement for, maybe 80, 90, 100,000 years. So if they were watching it then, how old would their society have been to have developed that thing? So when I tell you that, Africans may be on the earth 2 or 3 million years looking just like they look today, we can't trust the white supremacists and the people who are in charge of the world for the last 1,000 years. We can't trust them. Both of the majority of the people who run things in the world today enslaved Africans. One for 1,000 years and one for maybe 500 years. So it's time the Africans wake up to their own history. It's time Africans in the diaspora wake up and start to understand their true history, because a 2 or 3 million year old history cannot be told by people who are only really, realistically, intelligently 10,000 years old. And this is the problem of the last 1,000 years. One sect is not even a race. They have a name, right? They're not a race. And the other race has only been on the earth 10,000 years. So they have no idea or concept genetically, mentally, to truly comprehend the actual history of Africa. And then their hatred on top of that makes it impossible that they would ever understand the actual history of Kemet and Africa. Right? No joke. So it says, after long study of the whole matter, one sees preface that the science of astronomy in Egypt, with its observed and registered cycles or cycles in precession, is actually older than any other race of men on earth outside of Africa. I know. That's such a strange statement. Let's read it again. I suggest you go buy the book, get the references out of it, and go to those actual, how would you say, archaeologists and researchers that did the Oxford scientific papers to be able to put this together. Lewis. Look up Lewis, and you will find the quotes that Gerald Massey is quoting. Right? On Sonnetter, I'm sorry, but on Sonnetter, the people on Sonnetter is always asking for sources. Right? Where's the source? You can't just say something, because the religious people like to say things that are not really provable. You know? Like a donkey spoke and a snake in the garden and all that. Right? So sources is here. A long study of the whole matter. One sees. Do you hear what he says? One sees. It's not one wondering. It's not one giving an opinion. He says one sees, preface, that the science of astronomy in Kemet, aka Egypt, with its observable and registered cycle or cycles in procession. So what he's telling you there is that the actual history, the Kemetans, the Africans registered, the cycles that they registered, is actually older than any race of man outside of Africa. So, do you understand what that is saying? Really, people? Because I know we've been dumbed down so much by brutality and oppression that cannot sink in. What the statement is saying: all the astronomy around the world outside of Africa was influenced by the Africans going outside of Africa. They conquered South America and beat up South America, kill off all the natives of South America. Why? The truth about South America, they didn't want out. But it's still, the geneticists the other day found that there's DNA from the natives of Australia in the Amazon. So, outside of Africa, nothing's older outside of Africa. India Kali Yugas aren't older than Africa. But everybody has to exert their dominance, right? China with its astrology and stuff. Oh, they're so old and ancient, right? India with the Cayugas and all these kinds of, oh, so ancient, right? These people are ancient. But Africa is more ancient. The problem is the peoples of the world were sold a bag of goods, a bag of lies. See? And that lie has permeated for 1,000 years. So don't think any of us escape the effects of that lie. Right? We didn't escape it. We were influenced by it. And it takes a strong fortitude to develop your mind to that place where you can accept the truth of yourself. Right? Now, this isn't a talk against any other race. This is a representation of the greatness of the African continent, its people, and its culture, and the influences in the world that people pretend they all created it themselves. And it's disturbing, right? In the system, they have copyright. You can't go take another man's stuff and make money off of it without him getting something out. Like, do you understand? But Africa has never benefited from the Arabs stealing Ancient Kemet from Africa and making trillions of dollars. Africa has never received a dime. Africa has never received a dime from the museums in the world and in Europe that house African art that they have collected trillions. Trillions of dollars made off the backs of Africans being slaves. All this was done, and today you want me to believe in this society we live in. You gotta be kidding. Honestly. You gotta be kidding. I mean, it just shows you people aren't in their right minds. They are getting, just if you build a house on bad foundation, right? And you build the first level and it's just barely holding on, right? Because the foundation is weak. You put a second and a third level on it and it's all going to cave in. And this is what really is going on now. The foundation of these societies are not true and they're not strong. And every opportunity they've gotten to go into the foundation, strengthen it and make it solid by giving proper reparations to the people that built their society, they turned a blind eye. I heard the minority leader in the Senate in the Senate of the United States say, no body, which he meant no white body, is responsible for slavery. But Mitch don't remember the trillions of dollars he's spending giving to his rich buddies. America wouldn't have that without the labor, free labor of Africans planting and growing cotton that became the number one cotton in the world. Because of course the Africans were the original farmers, so hey. They manipulated and, they prospered and forgot who they prospered off of. And really and truly you want me to believe in this world today? You know how I live my life? I live my life in a personal world and an outer world that I view. But my personal world is taking responsibility for how I live and how I treat people and what I will accept and what I won't accept and what I will do and not do. Because on the micro level, if you live your life as best you can, it will permeate through the macro, and that is the principle of African spirituality. We just need to refresh our minds to catch up with our souls and heart and the genetic memory bank, right? The genetic memory bank in Africans go back maybe 2 or 3 million years. But we have to turn it on. And how we turn it on is by developing our intellect past the last 1,000 years of brainwashing, manipulation, oppression, and brutality. Because that is truly not the world in the way it was meant to be. I walk in the forest. I never see the big, tall, giant trees fighting with the bushes on the ground for space. You know what they do? They grow straight up. Right? They grow straight up. And the bushes fill it in. Mother Nature knows how to live in peace. But Mother Nature can remind human beings she's the boss. So out of Africa comes your hurricanes. Because that's the spirit of the Atlantic and how many black people got murdered and thrown overboard in the Atlantic. The blood is in the water. And so when you see a hurricane off the coast of South Africa, and I know today you call it the Indian Ocean, which is an insult. It's actually the African Ocean because it is a continent. A big, gigantic continent which is attached to the mantle. It doesn't drift. While all other continents drift. Go check it out. So I need black people to come up to their senses because this world will not have any peace until black people drop the 1,000 years of oppression and rise up to themselves as who was created on this earth from the beginning. I know, outlandish and outrageous statements, I know. Who's this crazy old man talking? Yeah, I'm crazy. But so is Mother Nature when she starts to wreak havoc. Forest fires, tsunamis, typhoons, earthquakes, volcanoes, and we keep playing with her. We keep deciding that we're more powerful than her. But yet a little virus can attack the world and the whole world shuts down. You know what that's telling you? Have a little humility. Stop with the ego and the egotisticalness. Now you've created a war zone. Mask, no mask, vaccine, no vaccine. You have deliberately caused more tension between human beings in order to achieve your intention to control everybody. It's not no secret society. You know, if everybody is fighting, the one who ain't fighting is the one who's controlling the fighters. You know why? He can feed them information to keep them fighting. Huh? In the beginning of America, the barons saw that the Africans that just arrived here and the white people who came from Europe, which were, you know, not the best of Europe, they sent them over there to work. They started to get together and demand more money and a better working conditions from the barons. So the barons devised a plan where they said black people are less and white people are more. One is superior, one is inferior. And the clash began deliberately. Deliberately. Why would white people have to hate black people and black people hate white people? I can't figure that out. I hear white power because black people stood up and said black power because they had none. You know, everything is convoluted in this system that now you want me to believe in and accept your experts. But, you know, I grew up with a story, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. That's the society that was built. It was built on a wall of evil, oppression. So Humpty Dumpty had a great fall off the wall, and all the king's horses and all the king's men, the experts, could not put that society together again. Because the foundations were rotten from the beginning. So as the natural guru, I'll leave it right there. You see my big doggy, my doggies. 2 dogs, 4 cats, an animal house, love animals. And so check me out on YouTube at the Natural Guru channel. And I hope to speak to you again soon. Have a good night and take care, everyone. One love.